Welcome back to Hot Water Wrestling. Here with the question, MMA versus wrestling. Which is better? Or can you even compare them? My first take is you really can't compare them. I got into MMA really early on with the Gracie family, and back UFC like 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and Ken Shamrock and all that stuff. And it seemed to be like a really hot thing for a while. And then interest kind of like dove off, it seemed to me. Now, I'm no expert on MMA, so this is just from my observation. This isn't like I'm trying to say it's how it is. But in my observation, it was hot for a little while, and then it dipped off. And it really started to come back in like 2005, and in 2007 and 8, it just hit strong. And now I'm seeing like MMA gyms pop up everywhere. People are really talking about it. And Brock Lesnar is like one of the first like big megastars of MMA. At least I think so. You know, the Gracies were stars. Tank Abbott was a star. Ken Shamrock was a star. But the MMA business has never really had this kind of household name standout star. And there's been a lot of great guys who are deserving of that. But just from my observation, it just really hasn't happened. And it's just now starting to with Brock Lesnar. But I don't even think he's really reached that household name pinnacle yet, really. I mean, we all know who he is, you know, but I don't know if he's really reached, you know, it's not like Sugar Ray Leonard or Marvin Hagler or, you know, any of these boxers that are household names, Roberto Duran, you know, on down the line. Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Moneybags Mayweather, who's like barely a household name, but he is. A lot of people know who he is. But anyways, I don't want this video to take too long, but, you know, I like MMA. I do. And I enjoy it. But there's something much more entertaining and blissful to me about wrestling. I think it's just the involvement of the sport. I mean, you know, wrestling isn't what it was back in the 80s. Now it's really, you know, evolved into this whole production, this whole soap opera, really. It's really like a TV show almost. You know, I guess it always was, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's really, you know, evolved into this whole dense storyline, and there's all these variables involved. Whereas, you know, before it was like you do your promo, you go out to the ring, you fight, you're done. You know, now it's like every week we got new things happening. It's, you know, I think in some ways it's hurt the business that we have so many pay-per-views, and a lot of people say that, and I agree with them. There are too many pay-per-views, and even the TV shows. I mean, even to do, you know, if they did one show a week and they got rid of SmackDown and ECW, okay? But maybe not ECW, because that's kind of like their farm league thing. But let's pretend they did, okay? They got rid of ECW and SmackDown, and they just ended up with Monday Night Raw. Well, like, one Monday night, you got Orton on there and Cena on there. But, like, the next Monday, maybe Orton and Cena aren't on the show. You know what I mean? Maybe Triple H is on the show. What I'm trying to say is you can only have so many matches in that 2-hour span. So some superstars would be held off television for a week or whatever, while, you know, you slowly built better storylines between people, and you created a sense of mystery. You know what I mean? Like when you see Randy Orton on Monday Night Raw, maybe he hadn't been on there for 3 weeks, and for no damn good reason, really. He just wasn't. And it's more of a, you know, oh, Randy Orton was on last night. Did you see it? And the storylines could be better thought out and played out more slowly, and just more quality injected into them. Because this whole fast-paced thing where you got 3 shows and all these pay-per-views, I mean, they just have to move and they have to stay interesting. You know what I'm saying? So in order to stay interesting, you have to move at an incredible pace that it's just, you know, astronomical to me. I mean, you know, maybe you guys don't agree at all, and you like the 3 shows, but, you know, I think a few less pay-per-views, I'd say like 10 pay-per-views, and then 1 show a week would be good. And if they're going to keep 3 shows a week, then it should be knocked down to like 8 pay-per-views. But I know this is an MMA wrestling video, and I'm going off here in a little tangent, but okay. I think people have said this before. I never heard anyone say it, I don't believe, but I have to figure in my mind that a lot of you have said this, maybe just said this to yourselves. When I shell out $40, $50, sometimes $60 for one of these MMA fights, or even a boxing match, but one of these MMA fights, it could end up being a total bummer. And the guy I want to see, like Brock Lesnar, I could tune in to watch Brock Lesnar fight, and the match could be over in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And what's even worse is that the match could be over like that Frank Mir versus Lesnar part 1, where Mir got him in that armbar, and that was the end of the match. And it's like, man, you know, we all know that Lesnar could have continued to fight. I mean, he lost the match. Obviously, if it was a street fight, his arm would have been broken, and he would have been finished, and Mir would have ate him alive because he would have broken his arm and all this stuff. But, you know, for an entertainment value, it's very poor. So when I put down this money to order a WWE or a TNA or an ROH or any wrestling pay-per-view, I know I'm going to get my money's worth. At least I'm going to get to see the people I tune in to see for an adequate amount of time, and they're going to have a match. And yeah, some pay-per-views are better than others, and some of them downright stink. But, you know, I think for the most part, thank the Lord, that pay-per-views in wrestling are more better than they're not. You know, you don't get stinkers that often. There's not like 5 stinkers in a row, you know? Like bragging rights. We all pretty much thought that that was going to be crap, and it actually turned out to be a halfway decent pay-per-view. Pretty good, you know? Survivor Series has to now follow that. You know, so MMA versus wrestling, when you watch wrestling, you're guaranteed to see your guys, and you get to see them all the time, and you get to feel more involved with the product. And even if they were to cut it down to 1 show a week and 10 pay-per-views, you would still feel very involved. Because, I mean, UFC doesn't, you're not really, you know, Brock Lesnar fights in, say, like, what did he fight in July? And then he's gone, you know, until November. But that fight got canceled, so now it's even going to be further away. You know what I mean? And it's like you don't really hear about him that much. I mean, I guess you go look around on the web and there's something. I don't know. But you know, you catch my drift, you know? MMA is something I can chime in and out of. I can chime in and out of MMA very easily. I mean, you can chime in and out of wrestling very easily. You know, there's a period where I didn't watch wrestling for like 3 years, you know what I mean? And I came back. But MMA, it doesn't really stick with you, you know? It doesn't stick with me, at least. I don't get like all involved, you know what I'm saying? Let's look at Shane McMahon. I mean, we know he recently left the WWE, and it's been heavily rumored, or if not formally announced, but I think at this point heavily rumored, that he's going to get into the MMA. Now, how do we know that it's not a mix of wrestling and MMA that he's going to get into? I mean, we think MMA, we think clean MMA, like Shane's going to go start his MMA organization. But what if Shane McMahon were to actually take elements of professional wrestling and take elements of MMA and make something kind of entirely new? That's something to think about. You know, I mean, we did have a touch and a taste of that with the Kurt Angle Samoa Joe MMA match in TNA, I believe. It was in 2007. Shooting from the hip here, so you have to look it up. But anyways, Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe had a MMA wrestling match, and I really liked it, and I addressed this in one of my other videos, how much I really enjoyed that. As far as pay-per-views are concerned, wrestling is such a bigger bang for your buck than MMA, because you're going to get a great show every time, and you're going to get to see whoever you're out to see for a good duration of time, not 2 minutes or 40 seconds or whatever it is. So anyways, I know this is kind of all over the place, but feel free to make video and comment responses, and I'll see you next time on Hot Water Wrestling.